If you've just picked up an MPC Key 37, like myself, and are trying to find your way around, here are 5 useful tips for beginners. Stick around for tip number 4, it's pretty essential. Tip number 1, your main button is your home button. Use this as your anchor. So if you get lost in menus and tabs, then you can always come back to the main button to a familiar screen. The main screen shows the current sequence you're working on and the current patch that's loaded. In this case, I have the Analog Dreams instrument and the Jellyfish preset. Tip number 2, all screens are connected. Now what I mean by this is if you go to sounds and choose a different sound than the one you're on, I'm going to move from Jellyfish here to Dreamcatcher. On some other keyboards I've played with, this would be independent to everything else. So you're just playing this patch, but if you went back to another screen, you'd be back where you were. On the MPC, when you go to main, the preset has actually changed to the sound I've just chosen. So in other words, everything is connected. It's like you're moving around a DAW. Another example of this is the mix screen. If you go to the mix, press play. If I was to mute the drum kit here and return to main, you can see my mute is reflected on my main screen. If I was to unmute it here, you can see it's unmuted on the mix screen. In other words, you're operating on your song at all times. That's a really useful thing to know as a beginner on the MPC platform. Tip number 3, there's more than one way to do the same thing on the MPC. In fact, I've never seen a device where there's so many different ways to do the same thing. Because you've got a touch screen, it's very easy to forget you've got all these other controls available to you, which quite a lot of the time duplicate the touchscreen functions, particularly the scroll wheel. So as an example, if I wanted to choose a different preset, I can double click on preset and scroll up and down with my finger, or I can scroll up and down with my scroll wheel. If I come off this menu, I can scroll through the patches with the scroll wheel without ever touching the touchscreen. And it's so much easier to use the scroll wheel than the touchscreen, I find, but it's just, you have to train yourself to remember that it's there. Another great example of this is the grid. So if you wanted to move a MIDI note, you could select it and move it with your finger. But it's quite fiddly. But the good old scroll wheel comes to the rescue again, makes it much easier to scroll left or right to where you want the note. Tip number 4, find the shift key. Now if you notice, a lot of the buttons have these labels on the bottom. These functions can be accessed by pressing the shift key, but it took me a few minutes to figure out where this was. In fact, it's over here on the right and it's lit up in red. If you press down the shift key, you can access these labels. So for example, if I press the main button, I end up on the track page. If I press the menu button, I end up straight on the preferences page. The ultimate example of where you really need to know where the shift key is, I found, was on the grid page. So if you come from a DAW background like Ableton or Logic, the first thing you want to do in the grid page is know how to select some notes and copy and paste them, for example. Well, those functions don't appear at the bottom, but if you press the shift key, lo and behold, they appear. So I can now cut a note, I can paste it, and I can delete it. Tip number 5, jump straight in and record something. You'll gain a lot of knowledge from seeing how things work when they're recorded and played back. The first thing to do is check that your track is armed, just like in your DAW, and it will appear red if it is. From there, all you need to do is press record and either choose play or play from the start. Play will play from where you currently are in your sequence, and play start will play from the beginning. I found the most important thing to know as a beginner was that once the sequence is completed once, 4 bars, 8 bars, whatever the sequence has been set as, then it will repeat, but this time in overdub mode. So everything you're playing will add to the existing track that you've just recorded. Let me demonstrate. That's the end of my sequence. We're now in overdub mode. So it means anything I play will merge with the recording I've just done. Now, if you want to see what we've just recorded, you jump over to the grid view, and there are both takes recorded as one. You can see my top line there and my chords underneath. The next time I record on this track, if I hit record and play again, I'll be recording over the top of what I just recorded. Not great. But you've always got your undo button. Your undo button is up here, very important. So that's my top 5 beginner tips for the MPC Key 37. If you found that useful, please like and subscribe. My name's Dirk. I'm the bass and keys player for Salt Aiir. We're a new band that's evolving, and you can watch us evolve in real time online. This is our channel. Check out our playlist here, other videos where you can watch our history and our previous lives. See you next time.